What is currying in JavaScript? So using currying, it's a high level technique we can say, using which we can transform a function, how it is being called generally by giving the different arguments. So we can transform a function and create a separate function out of an existing function, how we are calling it. We can also do this on inbuilt functions as well. So for that, we need to build one helper function which will help us to create a currying operation here. So let's see with practical two examples here how the currying works. So simply I'm creating a function here called a multiplication function. And let's say for multiplication, I'm going to take two numbers here. And it simply returns the multiplication of these two numbers. Let me just see the outcome to confirm everything is going well. 2 into 5. Okay, as it is returning a number, let me also console it. That's perfect. Let's confirm. Yes, we are able to see number 10 here, that is 2 into 5. Now, what's the requirement of currying in this case? So if I want to convert this multifunction into a currying operation, so I need to create one helper function. Firstly, we'll create and complete this currying operation, then we'll understand why it is needed. So there is one more function I'll create with the name curry, and here I'll take function as a parameter. So this is a generic helper function that I'm creating. So this is a helper function I'm creating, and it is going to return directly an anonymous function in which number one will be my parameter. Again, it is the inside of that, it is also going to return one more anonymous function which is having number two as the parameter. And now at this stage, I'm ready with two inputs as well as which function need to be called. So what I'll do here, I'll call the function by giving number one and number two. And I'll write a return statement. We'll see in detail how it's working in a minute. So the functionality of calling and having a multiplication of number 2 and number 5 we have already created here. If I want to do the same one by using a currying operation here, so firstly I need to create a curried multifunction here, and I'll take help of my helper function called curry, and I'll mention please convert and transform the function multi. What's happening here now? Now in this particular multifunction, if you just normally go with the function behavior, so we are calling the curry function here, that's perfectly fine. And you're passing a function as an argument, that's a common thing. Okay, and it is returning you a separate new function with this structure. So it is accepting one number, and again it is returning one more function in which it is accepting the second number. I missed here, it should be number 2. So with this, what happening at a time, you just need to give one parameter, and again one more function is coming up, and again you can perform an execution and give the second argument in next operation. So here, if I want to call this, I need to call in this way. Okay, now both things should give you the similar outcome. Let's confirm both are giving the 10 or not. Yes, very perfect. Let's understand it step by step. Very first thing, create multifunction is getting called with the number 2. That's perfect. It means here the number 2 is coming. So this is getting executed, and again one more new function is coming up into the picture which is accepting number 2 as a parameter. So now the execution for curry2 is already completed. It means some more new function here came because you can see the return type here. And for whatever the function will come up here after the execution of this anonymous function, again it is accepting one more new parameter, and that's the reason we are giving one more parameter here. And once done with that, it is returning you the final number 1 and the number 2. So with this, you can understand at the end of this particular function execution, it is converting to the same one that we have created earlier. And now inside this function, we are already passing the multi-parameter, the multi-function. So it is an exact same scenario. Let's try to do with the numbers that we are passing step by step again. So it's an end here. We are calling the curried multi-function, which is taking the number 2 here. That's perfect. It means we are giving the parameter here to this anonymous function. That's perfect. And it is returning one more new function. So when I'm completing the execution of this part of my function, I'm getting one more new function called function here. Again, if you see, it is taking number 2 as a parameter and again returning the execution by completing the execution of function by giving number 1 and the number 2 as a parameter, and it will give you the final result. So when the execution of function 5 will be completed, you will be getting your final result, that is 2 into 5 will be 10. So this way the execution for the curried multifunction is happening in the background. But what's the use case of it? That's the question. When we can do it simply, why to make it complicated? Now let's try to understand here. Here, instead of this, what I'll do, I'll say table of 2. So I'm creating a new variable called table of 2, and there I'm transforming the function called curry and implementing its partial implementation and giving the first parameter, that is 2. If I give one more parameter here, what will happen? The final execution will complete of my function and I'll get the output 10. I don't want to do that. I just want the partial implementation and just giving the number 1. So still this function we are having in our hands. Perfectly fine. So with this, what is happening? If you just replace this, we are getting in our hands this one. And here instead of number 1, we are having 2. So this is what happening in background. And now if I just call table of 2 and give some parameter, it is just going to perform some multiplication and I can have 2 ones are 2, 2 2 is 4, 2 threes are 6. These things I can get it very well. So let me do that. Console and table of 2, and I want to see the 2 ones are 2, then 2 twos are 4, then 2 threes are 6. Let's confirm the output. That's perfect. This time I want to create a table of 5. Again, I'll perform the partial implementation. I'll give the first parameter as 5. So in this multiplication, number 1 is always confirmed, that is 5. We just need to give the second number. Number 5, number 5, number 5. So 5 ones are 5, 5 twos are 10, 5 threes are 15. We should be getting here. So this is how currying will help you. If you have a fixed number of argument in the first place, second place, you can do the partial implementation. It will help you for further operation. Let's try to build one more good example for currying here. Let me comment out this functionality. I have a function here called log, for example, and this log accepts 3 parameters. One is which type of log it is, like an error, information, or maybe the warning. Second parameter will be at what time this got executed, and third one is the message one. So this is a log type, for example, and the second is the date and time, at what date and time this is happening, and what's a message. Okay, and simply I just want to console it on the screen. So I'm using here backtick symbol because I can use the string interpolation syntax here. So log type, then I want to display the timing, then I want to display the message. Okay, and here I want to call it, sorry, we just need to call the log function. So we need 3 parameters. So first one is at what type of the log it is. So it's an information log, for example. At what date time, I'll give new date. So it will give us the current date time. Then I'll just give the message one. Let's say server started. Okay, let's confirm the output for this once. Yes, we are getting a beautiful console log here now, which is saying first one, it's an information one, then it is giving us timing, and it is giving us the message. Okay, so let's make it more beautiful by applying it square brackets here for the log type here so that it will look more good. Yes, so it's looking more good now. Now let's try to give one more. So this time it's an error log, and I want to give the current date and time here again, and this time I'll say, for example, divide by 0 error. Let's see. Okay, so we are getting a very good logs here, but I want to make this more good when I'm performing this log. I want to display it in my HTML. Let's do that because we can see the logs very well, very clear. So what I'll do, I'll simply go to my HTML and I'll just create a passage here where I'm going to display my logs. So for this passage, I'll give the ID called logs here, for example, and I'll try to get a reference for that HTML element inside my JavaScript. This is just for the well representation so that we can see the logs very well. So the ID for my element is logs. Okay, that's perfect. And here I'll keep appending the logs here. So I'm keep appending the logs. So log is already ready with me. Let me just copy this and paste it here and remove this console. So now let's see in HTML. Yes, we are getting a beautiful log here, like it's an info, then we are getting the date and time and then the message, but it's not coming the next log on the next line. So what we can do for that, we can simply apply a slash n here to give a next line. Okay, slash n is not working here because I think we are in the backticks. So BR will be insufficient one, a break one, because anyhow we are appending it in the HTML, right? So BR will be sufficient. No. Okay, let me just give the extra line in the backtick itself because backtick supports a multiple line. There should be something missing with this. There is a small correction we can do here to solve this HTML problem because it is not able to identify the BR because we are inside the backticks, which means that it need to be displayed the things as it is in the HTML. So instead of this, what we will do, we will keep a copy of the original HTML contains which are present inside these logs dot inner HTML. So we are having holding the original contains here, and here again we'll try to say inner HTML equals to the original contents of HTML plus I want to give a small BR, a break here, and then I want to continue with my log. This should work now. Yes, it's working very well. Let's try to introduce a few more errors here so that we can see it's working perfectly. That's perfect. It's giving a very good logs now. So here, how we can make use of the currying operation, the high level technique. So let's imagine now we need to display many logs which are information logs only. So every time we need to call the same function log and we need to give the parameter called info. So every time we are doing it repeatedly. If you want a separate function which is wrapped on top of the original log operation, log function, which will specifically only log the info logs given here. And by default, this parameter will be fixed in that so that we can do in the curry. So let's make use of one helper function. So we need to create a quick helper function here for the currying operation. So it's a function, name of that I'll give curry here, and it will have a parameter of function as we have done earlier. It is going to return an anonymous function which will have our first argument. So what's the first argument in this case? It's a log type. Again, return function. The second argument is date time. And again, return a function. The third parameter is message. And now at the end here, we are going to call the original function by giving log type, date and time parameter, and then lastly, the message parameter here. So this is how we have created one helper function for this. Okay. Now here I'll say info logs, info log. So this is a new wrapper I'm creating here. This is a new partial implementation for the existing log function we are creating by the helper technique of currying here. So let's make use of the helper function called curry. On which function you want to apply this? We want to apply on the log function which we have created here. And here I want to give the first parameter because I can give the three parameters here, and I can give these three parameters in the three different stage, and at each and every stage I'm making a call to the function. I'm making an execution of the function because it returns me another function whenever I execute it. So I'm going to give the first parameter called info. So with this, you can imagine what's happening here. So when I'm giving the info parameter here, I'm getting this anonymous function, which is having the first parameter called date and time and the message, which will execute the final function here. So this is a partially implemented function. So if I just want to display all the info logs, I just need to say info logs, and I need to give directly the second and the third parameter. The second parameter is the date and time, and the third one is the message. So here I'll say new date, and here I'll say server started. Again, I want to give one more information log. I just need to copy the same. I can give the whatever the next one. Yeah, all server are good. Let's see the output. Let's try to debug it. So, okay, this is correct. Then we are giving the first parameter. That is also correct. Then we need date and time. Yes. Here we are not making use of the current operation. So it should be given in this fashion. It's good to have the errors because we'll keep learning the new things. So I was missing with the syntax. I was using the normal syntax, the comma separated arguments. Yes, we are getting the two logs very well here. Let's try to create one more partial implementation that is for error log, for example. And here the first parameter will be fixed, that is error. And now let's try to call error log and keep the second parameter, that is date time, and the third parameter here, for example, divide by 0. Sorry, it's divide by 0. Let's see the outcome. Again, we are missing. Yes, I'm missing with the syntax again here. For each and every argument, the function executes separately. That's perfect. So you might have seen this like it's an info log or the error log and this implementation in other libraries as well. And that is due to the high level technique called currying. So hope you understood how exactly the currying works in JavaScript, and it simplifies our programming at a great level.